Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, listening into another what if scenario from me. And this time I'm going to be talking about what if I made Mega Man 9. And yeah, my last what if I made something, which was Street Fighter 6, I think actually went off pretty well, even though I had to make a part 2 to it because I messed up the first part and had to correct some stuff that I made a mistake on and add in some things I meant to add to it. But that aside, I think it actually turned out pretty nice. It went pretty smoothly, and I think that for the most part, the people that listened into it really enjoyed it. So I'm going to do another what if I made a game. Or basically I had permission to make a game or take over a franchise for a game. And yeah, so I chose Mega Man X9, which is another Capcom property. And I know what somebody's going to say, like, Andre, why are you sticking on the Capcom stuff? Because I feel like I could possibly direct their games to be better made than they do. I know that might sound insulting, but I'm pretty sure I could. That aside, now what if I made Mega Man X9? Well, if I were making it, one, it would be the final game in that series. It would be the final story in the X series. And then you would move in between the X series and the Zero series to like the Elf Wars or something like that. But I probably wouldn't include that in Mega Man X. I'd make it a separate thing to itself, which would mean it would be the transitioning period between the X series and the Zero series. Well, maybe it wouldn't be the last in the X series. It'd be like the last game in the X series that you'd see Sigma. There would be no Sigma after this. That's how I should have prefaced it. That's how I should have said it. Because I would be taking my Heat story and applying it to the Mega Man X series. Because the way my story works is that it's at the end of the series anyway. It's not at any in-between period. It's at the end of what... It literally takes place after every game that has ever come out in the X series. So... for this, the gameplay would still be... the gameplay would be in the 2D styling. Just because it's what people are more familiar with. I think that would get the best reception. I would want to go back to using the 32-bit sprites, but that wouldn't necessarily have to be the case. They could definitely do it in 2.5D so that they could have different camera angles for whatever views they wanted to give at certain points, for just like a dynamic camera thing. I would re-include ducking in the game. I don't know why it was taken out of Mega Man X8, but to be able to duck was a useful thing. It gives the characters more versatility, allows you to do more with them. It should not have been removed. Just to be frank, it should not have been removed. Let me think. Anything else? Anything else I can think of? I had an idea in my head and it escaped me. But gosh. Okay. Be back in the 2D style. Ducking would be reintroduced because again, it wasn't exactly the best thing to take it out. The way it would be set up is that all of the combat would basically be taking place like throughout the different stages, but all of the stages would be interconnected. Meaning you could play from one stage, like say you could do a set of ice levels. Like you can play from one level into the next, or you can leave after you beat the boss, go back to headquarters, and then select the next stage and start there. Or you can just travel right through into it. So like for water-based levels, like say you had Launch Octopus's level led into Jet Stingray's level, for example. Something like that. And yes, I would bring back old enemies. There would be a new set of 8 Mavericks, but I would also bring back some of the older ones. Say like they were repaired and they were back to being normal Reploids and they got recorrupted. something like that. Like, it would be cool. I would still go with the broken vial thing, but that would not be the opening stage. The opening stage would actually have you playing with X, Zero, and Axel, much like with Mega Man X8, where it started off where you played with X, Zero, and I think it was X, Axel, then Zero, if I remember the correct order. Either way, you still have X, Axel, and Zero, and you'd be able to swap between them on the fly. But instead of it just being the two characters, you'd be able to swap between three. But this would just be just show off the mechanic at the beginning of the game. I'm sitting here with my drinks next to me and haven't opened either one of them, so I'm going to do that real quick. But yeah, there'll be three-way swapping mechanic for a reason. Because obviously Heat would be introduced into this game, so you'd have 4 possible characters, but you'd be able to play with 3 per level. I mean, you could play a level with 2 characters, but you could do 3 characters. Just saying, you could do 3. Like in the beginning of it, you swap between the game would swap between the characters. You have to play with them individually on their own. X, Axel, and Zero, up to catching up with Sigma, because Sigma dies in the intro stage. That's it. Sigma dies in the intro stage. He's done for. Have the fight where Heat is introduced, and Heat is the character that the boss character at the end of it, along with Sigma, because Heat's brain isn't fully activated, as I explained in my story where I was doing the Heat concept and stuff. If you guys listen to that, there is a playlist of Heat concepts and Heat verses. Go ahead and check it out if you want to. On YouTube, BitChute, you don't have that because I haven't uploaded all those videos over there. But gosh, I hate when I have the thought and I lose it. But you fight and beat Heat and Sigma, and then the cutscene plays where Heat's brain fully activates because he's coming out like hibernation sickness, so his mind isn't fully awakened where he's up and attacking. So he's just basically, Sigma tried to use him as a scapegoat, was going to try to claim his body. Heat's mind fully activates, and the antivirus that's in him, that was put in him by Dr. Doppler, awakens, and he kills Sigma with it, or completely erases him because of the antivirus. Moving on from there, Heat, I guess, temporarily joins the Maverick Hunters under Zero's watch, because he becomes part of the Zero unit, and Zero decides to train him. So you will have like levels where the characters go in individually to take out older Mavericks that are popping up. Starting off, the levels will be exclusive to certain characters. Like X will have like 2 levels that you have to play with him. Axel will have 2 levels you have to play with him. Zero will have 2 levels you have to play, and then Heat will have 2 levels that you have to play. Which again, this adds up to 8 Mavericks, and each one of the hunters has to take out 2 of them. As the story progresses, Heat starts to learn about stuff that happened with the Jacob Project and how Axel became a hunter, and like the stuff about G.I.G City, all of that stuff that happened before. Then get to a point where you have the team up levels, where you'll have a set of levels for Axel and X teamed up together, which will be 4 Mavericks, and then a set for Heat and Zero teamed up together, which would be another 4 Mavericks. So you got another 8. So you have 16 Mavericks in here, which means so far you have 16 different weapons or skills that the characters can utilize. I know this is going to take a lot of work. Again, these Mavericks are going to be older characters, like not newer ones off the break, like older Mavericks from the other games. That again, some of them were cured of the virus. Well, not cured, but I guess you could say cured. They were cured of the virus, but it came back. And they were recorrupted. You get to the point where, at this point, they go back to the area, the location of the Jacob Project happening. And this is where we see the broken down Vial show up. Defeat him. He gets a hold of Axel and touches his crystal on his forehead. And then it starts to glow that purple color that Lumine has. Like the Lumine's eyes and his hair. And Axel's armor starts to change. And at this point, you can't play with Axel anymore. So then X, Zero, and Heat all become a unit that you can play with together. And then you have the new 8 Mavericks that you have to face. With them, it's another set. So 24 powers that can be earned for this game. And then you can go back to the older levels. At this point, you can go back to the levels that have already been completed and get items and things for each character that you couldn't get before because you couldn't bring those characters to those levels. So, and yes, I would put in 24 different heart containers and everybody has to get 8 of them. Well, Axel would be the only one that really wouldn't need to get them. But if you did pick them up with Axel, you could redistribute them to the other 3 characters. Or, you know what, I just leave in the rescue system and let that cover that aspect. That way you don't have to specifically have to have those. I mean, yeah, you do for the purposes of completion, but you don't have to specifically have those to keep building your character's health up. But yeah, at the halfway point, Axel becomes unplayable because Lumine takes over his body fully. I'm trying to think. You defeat those 8 Mavericks, and then you're finally going back up what was it called? The orbital ladder? I think that's what it was called. The orbital ladder that Lumine is trying to use to broadcast himself as a virus like Sigma was. He's trying to use it to send his signal out across the planet so he can infect more Reploids and take over more Reploids and become kind of like omnipotent in a sense. But you're basically playing up through that, destroy it. I meant to say after you beat those 8 Mavericks, you have a brief scuffle with Lumine before going up trying to go to the final battle where he ends up injuring X-Zero and X-Zero and Heat. I meant to say that, where he ends up injuring them and they have to retreat and recuperate and then try to take on the orbital ladder again. Then you have the final battle. This one I feel like I'm running through it. But then you end up having the final battle. And you beat Lumine. Depending on who you beat it with, you get a different ending. But the canonical ending to this would be beating it with Heat. Like beating him with Heat. And X and Zero get taken out of commission for a little bit. Not like destroyed, but like damaged enough where they can't really do anything. And Heats is left as the last one standing for the ending. And he activates the antivirus in him, powers it up fully, and jumps at Lumine, pushing through all of the damage as his body's being destroyed by this energy blast that Lumine shot at him. He's falling apart while attacking him. Like all of his body parts are just starting to break off of him into tiny pieces, like he's disintegrating. But he hits Lumine right in the crystal, like right in his head in the crystal, to erase the viral part of him out of Axel, and basically that saves Axel. But in the process, Heat is too damaged to be recovered. Like he's damaged to the point where he's going to be inoperable. He can't be fixed. Dr. Doppler's not around to fix him. And Dr. Doppler's the only one who knows how to fix him. And his the chip that his consciousness is stored on is so heavily damaged and burnt out from him basically pushing his power output to its maximum and beyond it, that he can't be saved at all. He's just done for. Once he fades out, he's gone. I know that's kind of dramatic though. Like, it's extremely dramatic, but the reason for that is because I think it's a fitting end to seeing one. It's a fitting way to end it. Well, you see Sigma ended completely in this game, and then Lumine, who's holding on to part of the Sigma virus, is completely ended as well. Like, which would mean, and Heat dies because part of Heat's antivirus is Sigma. Once Heat dies, that's it. There's no trace of Sigma left in the series. There's still gonna be Mavericks. There's still gonna be Replicants that go Maverick and stuff like that. And this could lead right into what would be the Elf Wars, and Zero would, after this point, have gone and gotten his body swapped, and this could be what leads up to all of that stuff that they don't talk about. And Heat would have part of that story. It was just kind of, like I said, the way I've come up with the story, it kind of perfectly just fits right in there. So take what you will of it. I think it would be a fitting way to just, one, have a new game in the series, and two, it would be a great way to just it would be one of those dramatic moments where, and I completely skipped the part where X really doesn't trust Heat up until that first fight with Lumine, where they all get damaged, and Heat kind of steps in to defend Zero, seeing that Zero was there for, okay, that first fight, Zero was there first fighting Lumine. He got damaged and beat on. Heat shows up after that because he completed his missions. He shows up after that and tries to fight off Lumine, gets damaged. And X, having come in last, witnesses Heat trying to save Zero and jumps in and he gets damaged. Like, but up until that point, X didn't trust Heat because he knows part of the Sigma virus is in Heat for his antivirus. So he was just skeptical of him the entire time. And Zero took it upon himself to try to train him up and stuff like that. So there we go. I completely missed that context. That would make the ending more emotionally driven, I think, to see Heat die in that way. I mean, in all of the endings, Heat dies. Like, I think it's just more dramatic to have Heat die sacrificing himself to try to save and rescue Axel, because Axel became his friend during the short period of time they got to work together, and his whole mission throughout this was to rescue Axel. He wanted to save Axel. X and Zero were kind of relegating their thoughts to possibly destroying Axel completely in order to get rid of Lumine. Like, and Heat takes the hit for the team and saves Axel, sacrificing himself. There we go. If you guys would be interested in that, like, let me know. Let me know what types of thoughts you have for it down below. Like, I know I didn't go over like all of the enemies and stuff that would be in it, but just mostly because I kind of just wanted to give like a quick rundown, not like go into super depth and detail on it, because if I did, I'd have to do this for over an hour. Like, and honestly, I don't personally have that much time, but but you guys can let me know in the comments down below what you think and if this type of scenario for an X series game would interest you, or if honestly for any game if this would interest you. But that's it. Thank you for joining and listening. Keep your eyes and ears out for more stuff from me, and until the next time, please enjoy your games and peace out.